I treat these talks like I treat life now, which is I have an idea what I'm going to talk about, but I really just turn up and see what happens. I'm not really attached to how it works. Now, I never used to actually live like that. I used to think that I had to control everything in life, that that was my role as a human, was to control life. But then I soon realized that when I started to follow one of my passions, which was travel, I suddenly realized that it's kind of an illusion that we actually control anything. Well, in reality, I then realized that we are actually creating everything. So one of my passions over the last 7 to 8 years has been to show people how they are actually creating their reality. Now, this sounds quite a controversial subject when we hear certain stories, but I'm today going to take you on a journey to hopefully illustrate exactly that point. And what we've got used to is a blame culture. We've got used to blaming anyone or anything we possibly can in our world to make ourselves feel better about the world that we're creating. So, to start, I'd like you to speak to the person next to you and discover what you think is the biggest fear that the human has. So please, just spend 30 seconds, 40 seconds with the person next to you and just discuss what you think is the biggest fear that the human has. Okay. Does anyone want to offer what they think is the biggest fear? Death? Death? Anything else? Failure? Isolation. All right. These are the common answers. Over the last 7 years, I have been traveling the world, learning from, or immersing myself in different cultures and learning from anyone that I can who sees the world differently. So it's taken me 7 years to unlearn all the things that I have been taught since a child. This illusion. We're constantly sold one illusion after the next. And it was about a year and a half ago that I actually realized the biggest fear of the human is the fear of being wrong. It's not death. We know that's coming. We know it's not a fear. Often the fear of death is the fear that you're not going to leave a legacy, that you haven't done what you want to do in this world, so you feel like you're going to leave early. It's not death. It's not success. It's not failure. It's the fear of being wrong. How many times have you heard yourself say, I knew it? You always do that. Every time. And when you add to that the fact that we are probably creating our world from about 95% from that place we called the subconscious. All of these patterns that we're running, we're constantly trying to prove ourselves right. So if I'm thinking that all white people are this, all black people are that, all Chinese people, all Muslims, all Christians, if I have these belief systems in my mind, then when I meet these type of people, who do you think I'm going to meet? I'm going to create situations so I actually meet the people that I think they are going to be, those stereotypes. And I'm going to say, I knew it. I told you so. They're all the same. That person's always the same. The biggest fear of the human is the fear of being wrong. And when you understand, and I know I'm reiterating myself because it's a very important point, when you understand that 95% of your world is being created from that place you don't know, you then can start to see that that place we've called the subconscious is full of patterns that you've picked up as a child. These belief systems that you have as a child are then showing themselves in every single aspect of your life. Does that make sense? That pattern that you think money's bad, that pattern you think all women do this, all men do that. I'm sure you have partners at home. And they have certain traits that, when they come home from work, they might be angry, they might be frustrated, they might be sad. It might be a regular thing. So when they're coming home and they're not like that, how many times can you see yourself creating a situation so they are annoyed? So you can go, you always do that. Because we know how to trigger our partners. So we're constantly holding people in patterns of what we think they are. So we project onto people our belief systems. And then we hold them in that place so they can't change. And then we can't change. And then we're in that cycle of they don't change, we don't change, they don't change, we don't change. And then you're in that constant cycle. Rather than, I'm going to enable you to change so I can change, so you can change, so I can change. So one of the things that we've learned not to do is listen to our bodies. We've learned not to listen and observe the world that we're creating. So if you can for me, can everyone stand up? And can everyone close their eyes for me? Just close your eyes and be very aware of your body. Be very aware of your feet, your legs. Be aware of your stomach, your chest, your shoulders, your head. Just be aware that you're standing there. Now I want you to think of someone that makes you angry, that makes you annoyed, that makes you frustrated. Even a situation in your past or your present. Where is your body telling you it is holding on to that tension? Okay, you can open your eyes and have a seat. Now, when I do this in a workshop scenario, I will take people through more and more of these exercises for them to really feel how much their body is talking to them on a regular basis. Now, you could also say that I see the world very differently to how I used to. I used to blame everything. But now I'm in a constant state of learning. A constant state of learning. I have a different mindset. A mindset that used to be, I don't create anything and who can I blame? To a mindset that I have now, which is, I learn from absolutely everything that happens in my life. There is no downside to this that I've come across. Over the last 3-4 years, I've seen a direct correlation between you releasing from your fears, your insecurities, and your limiting beliefs, and seeing how many challenges you do not attract into your life. There is a direct correlation between the amount of fear that you have, the amount of insecurities you have, the amount of limiting beliefs you have, to how your world looks. Does that make sense? Can you relate to that? Can you see the more fear you have, the more you will attract certain situations? So, there I am, traveling the world. And I'm treating people in the sense of I have a skill set that enables me to help people release from their fears, their limiting beliefs, rather quickly. One of the main things is that I came to this realization that I could walk on this stage and very quickly I could affect all of you. I could come on this stage and I could be angry. And then you would feel that anger. I could walk on the stage and be very nervous and then you would feel that. When your partner comes home, you can feel what's going on with them, even if they're lying to themselves or yourself. When you go to your friend's house and they've had an argument, and you can feel that something's just happened, you can feel it in the atmosphere. Well, I realized that depending on how I am, affects you. And we accept that. We absolutely accept that someone can come out here and create an energy that makes you angry, frustrated, upset. So why can't we do the exact opposite? Why can't someone come out on the stage with a different energy and create a healing place for you? Why have we accepted this, but we haven't even explored this option? That someone can come on the stage, be sitting opposite you at dinner, and create an energy, create a space for you to change. There's 3 words I do not use anymore: bad, negative, and wrong. These 3 words do not enter my vocabulary anymore when I'm talking about me and my experiences. It doesn't mean I don't know what's going on in the world. I am very aware of what's going on in the world. But I soon realized that when I labeled it bad, negative, and wrong, I got more of it. Isn't that interesting? I got more of the thing I didn't want. So when I started to stop calling it bad, negative, and wrong, what actually happened is I started to create situations that were very different to before. Because if you could imagine it, we've all got these people that we have called negative, that we see them all day talking about how much bad there is in the world and how negative it is and the evil that's in the world. And then you look at their life, and it's not full of joy. It's not full of happiness. It's the opposite. All bad things seem to be happening to them because they're almost creating that vortex where they're pulling in everything that their subconscious has latched onto that they've labeled good, bad, negative, and wrong. Does that make sense? Because we all know that, on some level we all know this. So what happens is, when I stopped using the words bad, negative, and wrong, I actually started to learn more and more, just in a different way. I started to see that everything's happening in a way for my higher growth. Now, this can be so challenging for people because you know what we normally do? We normally create such extreme situations before we learn. The human has got to a point where before we don't even learn it, we've got so desensitized to what's going on in our own bodies and what's going on in the world. We create such extreme situations before we decide to even begin to learn why we're creating these situations. So I treat people that have got back pain, shoulder pain, have got emotional issues with their mum, with their father, and they come to me. And because it's such an extreme situation, they can't understand why they would have created such situations. One lady came to me because they have back pain, because they had an accident 3 years before. And she said to me, because I'm explaining to her that she's creating certain instances in her life. And she said, well, 3 months before my car accident, every single day, I asked for a car accident to get me out of a job I didn't want to go to. Can you imagine how much effort she's put into every single day asking for a car accident so she can't go to work? And she got what she wanted. Do you think you drive the same when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're sad? Do you think there's a higher chance of a car accident when you're in this state of emotion? One lady came to me, and her marriage isn't going well. Her life isn't going well. Her health isn't going well. My first question to her was, are you happy in that marriage? What do you think she said? Her husband's getting more crazy. I said, do you want to be in that marriage? And she said, to be honest with you, no. I said, how long have you felt like that? And she said, 6 months. I said, so it's pretty much fair enough then I can say you felt like that for about 3 years. Because it's like when you go to the doctor and they ask how much you smoke or drink, you don't quite tell the truth. So for the fact that she's omitted to 6 months, I know it's about 3 years since she's been unhappy in that marriage. So she said, yeah. Second thing, I said, do you enjoy your job? No. Can you see why your boss is getting more crazy? Okay. I said, do you want to live in Dubai? And she went, no. I said, can you see why it's all happening now? Because you want to go back home. So you're creating a situation to get you out of your job, to get you out of your marriage. Now, I personally know this because 11 years ago, I was made redundant from my corporate job. I can assure you I was in that job for 1.5 years, and for 8 months, the last 8 months, do you think I was happy? I wanted out, but I was too fearful. I had the girlfriend, I had the mortgage, the car, the male ego, the pride. I couldn't leave. So what did I do? I created a situation so it was made for me. And that's often what we go through. We create situations that are extreme enough so decisions are made for us. Do you remember what you used to do when you wanted to get out of a relationship? You create situations so someone else would do it for you. Do you remember that? All right. So, the biggest fear of the human is the fear of being wrong. When you actually realize this, when you leave here today, you'll realize more and more why you're creating certain situations. And the more honest you are with yourself, you'll realize that by you taking more responsibility for the way your world looks is actually hugely beneficial for you. But that's not the point. When you realize that you're the center of your ecosystem, you're the center of your family, your extended family, when you change, the people around you effortlessly change. This is how big change is going to happen in the world. We've just got into a culture where we are blaming everyone for everything, and people are not learning. So let me just run another scenario, which is actually true. When someone comes to me and said that their partner has cheated on them again for the 4th time. A different partner. The first time, it was with a stranger. The second time, it was with a friend. The third time, it was with a best friend. The 4th time, it was with a, what's more extreme? It could have been a brother, could have been a sister. I've made it gender neutral, the example. So can you see what was happening? This person was blaming that gender. Men are all the same. Women are all the same. All they do is cheat. So every time it happened, it had to get more extreme. And this is how I see life. Life gets more extreme. It gets louder. Have you learnt yet? No. Have you learnt yet? No. This person was blaming other people, so the lesson got louder and louder. If that was your friend, I'm sure at some point you would have gone, you got to work on yourself. You keep attracting the same person. In certain situations, it's very obvious to you when you see someone else creating their situation. But it often has to get so extreme before we start to learn. By releasing your fears, your limiting beliefs, and your insecurities is the first place to you creating a life that you actually want. Can everyone close their eyes for me? We're going to do an imagination exercise. So get comfortable for me. This exercise is to do with your imagination. That means when I guide you through this, the definition of imagination is that anything is possible. There are no limitations in your imagination. So I want you to imagine yourself in a forest, a made-up one or one that you've been in before, and walk around, fly around, move around. Feel it, smell it. Just walk around, fly around, move around. As you do, I want you to notice a house, however that looks to you. Make your way to that house and make your way inside. Find a place where you're going to lie down. From that place, I want you to imagine yourself on a beach, one that you've been to before or one that's made up. Sit there and look out over the ocean. From that place, I want you to imagine how you would like your life to look. No limitations, not based on your situation at this moment. Would you be doing the same thing you're doing now? Would you be traveling? Would you not be traveling? On your own or with your family or your friends? What is your ideal situation? And then come back. Find yourself back in the house where you were originally sitting. Walk out the door and back into the forest. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How many times do you engage with your imagination? You know, some people get tired during this exercise. Some people fall asleep during this exercise because it's so hard work, so much hard work to use their imagination. And do you know it's one of your biggest skills for manifesting a life that you want? And we just don't engage with it anymore. Some of us don't even know when we close our eyes and we're told to imagine. We can't. We can't see anything. All we have is all what's going on a daily basis. I was doing this with someone the other day, and they said to me, "What, so I can imagine anything?" I said, yeah, anything. It's your imagination. You can absolutely have anything in your imagination. No limitations. And they were living in a one-bedroom apartment in Dubai. And I said, "So what would you like?" And they went, "I'd like a two-bedroom." You can have everything. And they went, oh, all right. I'd like a villa. So as it went on, obviously, I said, "Do you want to be in Dubai?" And they said, "No." That's how limited we are in our imagination. And then we look at our lives and go, why isn't it going to plan? A lot of people don't even know what they want. And what I've realized recently is that people that don't know what they want attract other people that don't know what they want. And now you're in that cycle of feeding each other's story. Yep, my boss did that horrible thing to me again. Oh, that's terrible. How can you do that? And we feed the stories. And the people that I treat or give these kind of theories to as an offering for them to either take on board or not, is what I love to hear is when they come back and said, I've changed the way I talk with my friends. I used to feed their story, and now I'm actually helping them understand that they might have had something to do with it. It completely changes your relationship. It completely changes your ecosystem. When you change, the people around you can change. It's your decision if you're going to perpetuate the cycle of blame or you're going to help people get out of that. And as we've already seen, it goes on for generations. Absolute generations of blame. And then we wonder why the world is looking the way it is. Well, I honestly see that we are creating our world as an individual, but we are also creating our world as a group, as a species. And as humans, we have become so desensitized to other humans. We actually now see certain films and games and hear certain stories and turn on the news and it's like, yeah, another couple of people died. Yeah. We hear about animals and we've got so desensitized. So the way I see is the world is getting louder. It's getting louder and louder. Have you learnt yet? Have you learnt yet? Have you learnt to take responsibility yet? Or are you still blaming people and events for what's going on? And that's the situation we're getting ourselves into. So what I highly recommend that people do as a simple practice in the first instance when they leave here is just to see if there's any learnings they've had from the way they've been blaming people of what's been going on in their lives. Can people stand up for me one last time? And everyone close their eyes for me. Think about the same person that you thought about before, or the same instance, and see if there's any change. Is your body holding less tension, or is it the same? Will you think of these people differently for what they've done? And if everyone can just open their eyes and have a seat. Now, people come into me for sessions and they have a series of ailments that they have been told that are impossible to change. But because I know, because of experience, I've treated thousands of people now to know how the body works. And it's stress that comes from our emotions. But from that place we don't know. The subconscious is constantly running programs that you don't even know you're running, but they are influencing every single decision that you make. And then what we do is that we cover these feelings up with coping mechanisms. Do you know what a coping mechanism is? Something that you use to cover up the real emotion. They're everywhere. Exercise is a coping mechanism when it's used in a particular way. What you eat, the way you think. Positivity is a coping mechanism. Do you know can you feel the pressure nowadays in society, what it is to be positive? Facebook is telling you constantly with affirmations that you should be positive. So there's lots of people walking around unhappy, telling themselves that they're happy. And then we're wondering why that works for a short period of time, but not long time. Because it's a coping mechanism. And I think we've got to get to that point where we understand that we have to learn to release our fears, our limiting beliefs, from a real, genuine, honest place. because that's how the world is going to change. What we've put a big Band-Aid over our stuff. And then we are complaining why the world isn't looking the way that we want it to look. It's because we're pushing so much down. It's got to come out at some point. When your willpower runs out, that's when you start to see the real you. So we have to find these ways of helping us clear. And I can assure you one of the best ways of helping yourself clear from your fears and insecurities and limiting beliefs is by entering and practicing using your imagination. I think that's it. Thank you very much.